We continue with Zsolt Sőrés. We started a little bit later, Sunday morning. What can you do? And we talked a little bit later because it was interesting to talk. So we are 20 minutes delayed. Everything by now is a little bit later. All right, Zsolt, I was happy to have a proposal from you to the conference, Improvisation in Haptic Space.
Thanks for the possibility and the invitation anyway. So, good. Since the mid-1990s, I have had the opportunity to participate in more and more film projects as a musician and composer. I will never forget my collaborations with my good friend Peter Strickland, who is the director of Barbarian Sound Studio and other Haptic films, or with the Russian Far East underground filmmaker Andrei Iskanov, or even the Berlin-based experimental filmmaker Clemens von Wedemeyer. I've also always been involved in... There is no sound. Is there? Yeah, okay. Sorry. I've also always been involving in sounding silent films with live, experimental and improvised music. However, there were two projects where we tried to achieve an organic unity of improvised music and live filmmaking. One was Inconsolable Ghost, which ran from 2014 to 2019 and was founded by composer Hilary Jeffrey and experimental filmmaker and composer Gideon Kears. Inconsolable Ghost created ritualistic so-called channeling performances. Inconsolable Ghost and the Daunted Group's multimedia creation methods in film concerts share some similarities. Basically, both projects worked on the maximum expansion of the haptic film space through the totality of creative improvisation. However, the focus of my presentation today is on the Daunted Group's project Remixing the City, which, besides being an emblematic work in its complexity, is now 10 years since it was released in 3 outdoor venues in Budapest as part of the Platz Public Art Festival. Not only film studies, but also the filmmakers themselves have shown an increasing interest in the last 2.5 decades in a phenomenological and a new materialist interpretation of the perception, understanding and making of film. By emphasizing the multisensory quality of perception, interpretations that think in optical terms and are essentially based on visuality have long been unable to describe increasingly complex cinematic works. Haptic film has in fact become the name for a type of film that is multisensory and synaesthetic. Laura Yu Marks, in her book The Skin of the Film, notes that the word derives from the Greek haptein, to fasten, means to fasten. Not only do we record images, but haptic visuality records the images around us. It is both an extended cinema and an interactive cinema. Daunted Group Independent Art Laboratory, founded in 2006 in Budapest under the direction of video, film and multimedia artist András Juhász. The project has been running for 16 years. Our goal was to create a conceptual bricolage, an intermedia meta-film, a multimedia film with a focus on real-time sound design, live action. We created real-time multi-layered visual, musical and instrumental improvisations, as well as film shot live, edited and projected simultaneously with the live action. This was often accompanied by performances with live actors, contemporary dancers and objects. Often we also created our own custom-built devices, such as the welding projector, dreamed up by András Juhász. So, go back to this text. Daunted Group has tried to be as flexible as possible in terms of interoperability between media. Several of its productions can be best seen as electroacoustic improvised music concerts with a specific visual content. Others are theater performances, video performances, live filmmaking, installations, public art, or social art. But the Daunted Group has never been the same as just a live VJ performing at live cinema festivals and editing live there. The group's artists from different backgrounds have sought to transcend the limitations of their own medium and create an in-between, yet infinitely open transmedia art action. Aesthetically and technologically, they sought to create generative film performances and live camera sound feedback performances. They also sought to make classical use of real-time, everyday and artifactual objects of contemporary culture. All this as a visual correspondence between our urban culture as mapped by pop art and, at the same time, our transcendental spiritual attitude. It's no coincidence that we have also been inspired by the entire history of experimental and underground cinema from the American avant-garde to Alejandro Jodorowsky. By the way, I've been teaching film music analysis at the Liszt Academy of Music in Budapest since 2014, and in 2013 I created a performance with the Daunted Group called Axis Mundi Alejandro Jodorowsky Necromancy. One of our very first art projects was our Loop Event series. In the early phases of the Loop Event project, we tried to translate the repetitive but constantly evolving dramaturgy of music into cinematic expression, and at the same time to make it algorithmic, based on the loop sampler principle used in electroacoustic music. We also wanted to maintain the live, often evolving, unplanned solutions and the laws of the moment in improvised music. The group developed a system to create a repetitive stream of film shots. The film consisted of shots of predetermined length to which new but not exactly planned scenes were added in real time from live camera images, while the music, or so-called the soundtrack, evolves in time with the video and draws out the dramaturgy on the live film. The audiovisual intermedia project Remixing the City aims to create cinematic poetic impressions of the flexible human spaces that essentially shape the public spaces of everyday life in large cities. This idea, by the way, is also respect for the values of pop art and anarchist situationism. It is also respect for the banalities of everyday life, for the movement that is part of the ordinariness of life, in which there are no poetic postures, for the everyday objects that mark out the consumption and environment that surround us, and for the domination of standardization. And the generative and looped algorithm of images and music, stacked layer upon layer, add time to the space of the image. The specific time of the project. The process itself constantly shapes the dramaturgy, juxtaposing fragments of past and present. The project begins in daylight and ends in the evening. The specific space of the project. An important criteria in the choice of the urban location was to find a smaller, more intimate space for the screening, where it would be possible to project the video during the day. It was also important that the screening location should be as close as possible to the filming location, and that there should be a physical connection between the two spaces. The process on location follows the following methodology. Live video and audio streams are projected onto a screen set up in the projection area, where viewers can follow the event. The film is shot by two cameramen who aim to show the essence, the macro events of the site. Their movements and energy are influenced by the events of the moment, and this forces them to work intuitively. Live video footage is inserted one by one into the loop sequence using live real-time editing. Each shot that appears on the screen is repeated over and over again until it is overlaid by another real-time clip and eventually replaced in the video stream. The loops rotate continuously as a 10-second sequence, resulting in a dynamically repeating series of short video clips. At the end of each loop, the quality of the footage deteriorates, with repeated scenes becoming increasingly blurred and noisy as the digitalization process proceeds. The live sound recordings are also edited and mixed on location with the pre-recorded noise samples. Two sound engineers equipped with radio microphones move around the locations throughout the shot, collecting and transmitting the sound material on two channels, while the acoustic impression of the visual loop is fed in on a third channel. These sources are live edited, highlighted, muted, and modulated in response to the current events. All of this happens completely simultaneously, and it's projected into the same urban public space, edited as a film for passers-by, for the pedestrians, basically. By separating and reuniting the video and sound recordings, the normally interconnected media are randomly juxtaposed, thus expanding the possibilities for associative interpretation. The situations experienced by the creators are improvised and randomly organized into a video stream according to the regularity of the signals entering the system. Since simultaneity is an essential element of the experience, there should be as many common links as possible between the film and the viewers and the scene. In such a situation, environmental sound effects that can be heard directly by the viewers can be easily integrated into the sound stream, or the cameraman can follow a person with his camera before suddenly appearing at the scene. Remixing the City also sought to bring the concept of situationist psychogeography into the 21st century, as it is still apparently not outdated. Starting from the premise that enemy has taken over all space, the primary aim of psychogeography is to observe and describe the effects of urbanism of the psyche, spirit, and attitudes of city dwellers. All this by linking the haptic audiovisual multisensory perception of reality with the mimetic virtuality behind the projected image. The film steps off the screen, blending image and sound with reality, which it can only do because of the dominant nature of the audio layers. The resulting film questions reality as directly as possible, and the structure of reality is revealed by the present tense. But improvisation is the tool that exploits the totality and momentarity of the present. There is no better tool for this. This presentation was dedicated to to the memory of István Diák, who was a core member of Don't Eat Group, and he just died exactly at the same time when I moved to Berlin in 2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zsolt. Are there any questions or remarks? We still have a tiny bit of time.
Thank you, Zsolt. I didn't know about this project. It's very interesting and very complex, it seems. First time I heard about it. And my question is, this was not only at nighttime that you had this, but also during daytime, right? And
Yes.
because the problem is always in daytime, the projection, do you actually see something? The light situation. That was one question. And the other one was, the sound we heard now was the sound on site?
Yeah, that was the actual sound what you can heard live there. But it was my solo anyway, so I played everything in real time. It's like a 32 channel live mixing, plus I use lots of sound sources. I get in 2 channels from the live sound from the actual site, from the sound guys whom are walking through and try to discover sound-wise this site, which was like in 100 meters wide place, and also they interact with people. So the people just ask them, what are you doing with this recorder there? There's nothing here or something. Also it was also involved to the whole sound processing, and these performances was quite long. It was like a process art. It's it's like a kind of a concert installation also. It's not only
you surely said how long it went. It was 24 hours or just
no, it's just like I don't know how long, but it's like 2 hours long or something like that.
Okay.
And this is a good question. What you asked, that how we find a right place for screening in daytime. Yes, it was. We always choose these special sites of the city where we can do this. So with very powerful beamers, what we used that time. And it's an expensive project. So we needed supporters for that, and of course, Don't Eat Group was always very complicated. So we were all together somehow very complicated guys, and we needed lots of support for these ideas to realize.
Thank you very much for sharing that. I think it made total sense, speaking, like referencing about the situationists and things like that. So it was really nice to see. I was really curious about the relation of the passers-by and the gaze, and the maybe like surveillance kind of implications of it as well, like bearing in mind like people's experience when they're walking through cities and how many times they're captured, but then this is their image being projected back to them. So I wondered if it was, there seemed to be moments where people were gazing into the camera, aware, and were they seeing themselves back in the screen? Or could you tell me a bit about the differences between the moments where there was loops of people passing by, and then there was moments where those captured seemed aware? Just really curious about that.
The differences.
Yeah.
It was like, of course, a short time delay between them. I don't know how short it was, like at least 10 seconds delay. And so I was in a special position, so I really myself I never interacted people surrounding me, but the visual crew, yes, they did. And then they had really interesting stories about how they interact with people. So and most of them, they liked the situation, and even, yes, they were there whom are recorded before. So they somehow, in between the process, they realized that this is if they wanted to know why they recording them or something. Not everyone wanted to know, but if someone wanted to know, they told them that this is the screen there, and you will be there. But if you say no, then we cannot do that. Or we try not to do that. Yes, of course, the cameraman also just stopped the camera for a while. So if someone doesn't want to be participated, if this interaction happened, first they ask them about the conditions that we can make a recording, and if you want to know more, then we can tell you, but let us know. And then, but most of them were very contributive, and they liked very much the situation. And someone told me that the people really try to acting somehow, but that was not the intention. It was like to capture the normal situation and on the street.
We have one last question or remark by Michael.
And everything was totally improvised. Just the algorithm was ready. Also, everything.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this presentation. Just one last question. I'm here.
Okay. Okay.
You were talking about the sound.
Yeah.
But the sound was really pretty dense, and
yeah.
You just explained you were responsible for two sources. Or there were two sources coming from from two people walking around with microphones, but you were talking about you had something like 30 sources. So can you tell us a little bit about the other sound sources?
Yeah, it was, as I remember, it was not, it was not 32, but 24, I think, channels. It was a 24-channel mixer, and then I get in stereo, I mean in two mono channels from each. It was 4 channel, the two sound people basically, plus 2 mono channels from what I get the algorithm, what generated from the video editing. It's created a special loop algorithm with what I also get. I pre-recorded materials from the side. I also use it in 2 channels, and I use my instruments, viola, electronics, and blah blah. And and I think I use 1 channel because I also send back them my signal in the end. And I also created a special drone, what I pre-recorded on the side. So it was also my idea. I didn't talk about that because I just really edited this presentation because it's getting very long. I realized a few days ago, so I didn't talk about this aspect. But it was also an intention that to find a special drone of each space. So I collected the sounds, and I created a pre-edited a special drone for the space, what I also used. But the density was really what we needed, because these urban spaces are really dense, and you are just in the ocean of the noises when you are in the streets. You are walking on the streets, and you can hear lots of sound sources surrounding you everywhere, and you are just somehow ignore it. But if you can listen it's a super complex sound ocean, you know. So I had to work with this, and I wanted to give our sound ocean into a big sound ocean or something like that.
I was also really amazed to learn something about the Hungarian underground activities. When you moved to Berlin, it was also not long ago after the right-wing government had taken over there. And so we've met before at Ausland. There was a talk which Zsolt did, which was very interesting and important about the situation in Hungary with the arts and everything. So it was interesting to see another face.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Zsolt.
Thank you very much.
Sőrés, for presenting. So now it's almost time for the lunch break. The lunch break is going to be upstairs, so there's food for everybody. You can come up and eat something there. We're a little bit delayed, so I think we just take 20, 30 minutes, everything further back. Before the lunch break, we will now all go downstairs to the installation of Roberto Duarte. He's a fantastic filmmaker. I really wanted to have him in the program here too. I was mentioning his film Berliner Improvisation yesterday already, which is really worth to be seen. And he has worked with dancers mainly and filmed them. The installation is called Noche. And the best is that we gather here on the door and we really go down together in right now.